Assalamualaikum and hi. I am SITI NURDAMIA ZAFIRA binti Zafri. Today I'm going to present a case study for information security practice in business on Lazada Redmart data breach case. To the introduction, so Redmart was founded in 2011 in Singapore as one of the Southeast Asia first fully online supermarket. In 2016, Lazada acquired Redmart, and by 2019 it was fully integrated into the Lazada apps. So Redmart depends heavily on IT system to manage customer data, payment and logistics. But in October 2020, a serious data breach exposed the information of about 1.1 million customers. So this incident highlight how fragile trust can be in the digital business. To the background, so in today's digital era, information security is critical, especially for e-commerce. And it needs to have the cybersecurity protect, such as protect system, programs, and network from the online threats, because it's usually targeting their sensitive data. So what are the usual common threats? So the common threats first is hacking. Hacking usually refer to the unauthorized access. Example, like hackers can use stolen username and password from the one site to bring into the other's account. Second threat is malware. Malware is a harmful software like ransomware. For instance, ransomware can log the such as hospital record and demand payment before access is restored. And last is phishing. So phishing is a fake email tracking user. Example, it usually send a scam email and to pretending to be from the bank, and they will asking you to verify your password. So all this attack will lead to the financial loss, reputation damage, and service disruptions. So the Redmart breach case is the clear example on how the weak database management can lead to the massive leak of the community. So Lazada Redmart case are chosen as a case study because it is a real case of e-commerce data breach, and the case was exposed and it happened because of the attackers stole their records, such as the customer and seller's record, included the record of their names, email, phone number, address, multi-shell credit card numbers, and SHA-1H password. So after that, the Personal Data Protection Commission (PDPC) has investigated and found that Redmart failed to implement a proper security measure for their business or their apps. And then the company, the Lazada, was fined with 72,000 Singapore dollar, and even though Redmart has cooperated and reported many voluntary, however, the penalty was not reduced. And after the incident happens, Redmart has improved its security procedure and promised to protect customer trust. For the specific challenges, there are 4 challenges we identify in this case, which is first is data sensitivity. Data sensitivity such as the personal data ID like numbers, address, bank details is very sensitive. In the Redmart case, data of 198,791 users was exposed, including their names, email, phone number, partial card credit details, and even a call recording. Second challenges is because the technical vulnerabilities. So in this case, investigators found that Redmart stored their imported system access key in the plain text and even embedded them in the source code. So there are no encryptions or extra authentication was used. It made the attackers easier to copy their customer records. Third challenges identified was because the human factors usually refer to the employees, because employees are often the weakest link. In this case, the attacker compromised a staff GitHub account, obtained high level of the AWS credential, and set up a launch server. Is the attackers access Redmart internal system and extract the customer data. So last challenges identified was because the compliance issue. So the PDPC concluded that Redmart has failed to meet their protection obligation under the Singapore's PDPA. Even though it was their first breach, the penalty was still imposed to show the accountability. Move to the security improvement recommendation. So there are several improvement or recommendations that can implement to overcome those challenges. So to prevent the similar incident happen, several improvements were suggested. First, to overcome the data protection. So all the customer data or seller data need to encrypt at rest and in transit, such as use the strong password like SHA-256 instead of SHA-1. For clear example, instead of storing password as a Apple APPLE, it should be stored as a long and unreadable string like EF92B56. Like combine it with the numbers instead of a simple word. Recommendation to overcome the technical safeguards is the Lazada or the business need to store their system key securely in the AWS Secret Manager and enforce the multi-factor authentication (MFA) and need to run the vulnerability scans. Easy example such as once you log in the password, you need to have the plus a one-time code sent to your phone, so it makes it harder for the hackers to break in. Recommendation to overcome the challenges of the human factor is do the human awareness, such as trainers need to train their employees twice in the year, especially on the phishing and password security. They can at least apply the privilege principle, so meaning that the staff only access what they truly need. Easy example such as the customer service staff should not have to access the developer system key because are not used to be that specific area. Recommendation on the compliance and accountability. So Lazada or other business need to align with the PDPA and GDPR based on their company rules, and need to conduct regular audits, enforce password change in the company, enforce password change especially on the private information, and communicate transparently with the customer. So it will build more trust and avoid the penalty happen, and also to protect the business reputations. Move to the implementation plan. So as we can see here, this is the table plan. The action plan can be taken, and this plan is for the Redmart and Lazada management, IT teams, and their staff, because everyone needs to play important role in protecting customer data, involve the technology and the people. There are 4 phases here. For the phase 1, start from 0 to 6 months. First, the key option is to encrypt all the sensitive data, so use the hash password with the SHA-256, and need to enforce the HTTPS and set compromise AWS and GitHub keys. Example, I say instead of storing password as in the easy words such as Apple, it should be shrunk as long and unreadable code, so attackers cannot use it. Second phase, start from 6 to 12 months, is secure the system kill involved and remove hardcode credential and enforce the multi-factor authentication MFA and run the vulnerability scan. So the organization can log in one password plus one-time code that's sent to your phone, so it will make it more harder for the attackers or hacker to break in. The third phase, start from 12 to 18 months, is the key action is company need to provide cybersecurity training, phishing simulation, and need to apply it at least privilege and monitor unusual activity like a roach server. The example is staff should learn how to spot the fake emails so they don't click on the harmful links. So the expected outcome for the third phase is staff will make fewer errors and detect phishing faster than before. Last phase, start from 18 to 24 months, is the key action is the company needs to align with the PDPA and GDPR and need to conduct compliance regular audit, establish the incident response plan, and communicate breach openly to their customer. What are the PDPA? PDPA is a Singapore Personal Data Protection Act, so it requires company to protect personal data responsibly. For the GDPR, it stands for the Europe General Data Protection Regulation. It set a global standard, like the right to delete your data or remove it to another provider. So, because the 2020 breach already damaged trust and the caused much penalty. So, by following the PDPA and GDPR, one can avoid fines and protect their customer data and build long-term trust. To conclude, the Redmart data breach was not just a technical mistake. It shows how fragile customer trust is due to business. And there were challenges that were identified such as the data sensitivity, technical vulnerabilities, human factor, and compliance issue. And the attackers usually exploit the weak database management, unprotected system keys, and poor staff awareness, and the failure to meet the PDPA rules. There were recommendation solutions suggested such as encrypt data, secure key management, do multi-factor authentication, do staff training, and stronger accountability. This will design to protect customer information, reduce fraud, and ensure compliance with PDPA in Singapore and GDPR in Europe. And in short, proactive security is not only about stopping attacks. It's about protecting reputation, maintaining customer trust, and securing the future of e-commerce. Thank you.